Hello, everybody, and welcome back into another post-game show here, the Tampa Bay Lightning Florida Panthers series. This is the last one of this series, at least, but it's over. Tampa Bay Lightning sweep the Florida Panthers. Although Florida outshot them like crazy in this game, 49-25. Andrei Vasilevskiy, 49 save shutout. Maroon got the game winner on a weird play that kind of Bobrovsky lost sight of the puck and it kind of just rolled in, and then Palat got the empty netter. So that ended 2-0. Joined in by Jim Bay, who covers, of course, the Tampa Bay Lightning, as we've done throughout this series on the post-game shows. Thanks, Jim, for coming back on. And what'd you think about this game and then the series as a whole as the Tampa Bay Lightning are moving on to the third round?
The game is, I was thinking at the end of the game, I don't think I've seen a team play as poorly as the Lightning did in a playoff game and still win. And that, of course, was Vasilevskiy. He stole the game.
Yes.
You want your goalie to steal games every once in a while for you. In this game, he did. I found very little good about what Tampa Bay did in the game. And I think they even admitted that. I forgot who got interviewed in between periods. It might have been Colton. He said we were terrible in the first period, a little bit better in the second. Not all that much better in the third. They picked things up, but they did, again, just enough with Vasilevskiy's help to win the game and the series.
Yeah, well, Vasilevskiy was amazing throughout the series. So, he ends up allowing only 3 goals in the series. And, what can you say about him? This game was probably his best, obviously. 49 saves. And, Florida just couldn't get anything by him. And Tampa Bay had 2 disallowed goals. And I want to touch on that for a sec. I know one of them was it was a glove pass. You can't win a draw with your hands, with your glove. Used to be you could, but and then the other one, which took 8-10 minutes of review and to find out that it did hit the mesh. And it was really hard to tell. What'd you think about those 2 plays?
Well, the glove one was actually, I don't like the ruling. I always thought that if you had your glove on the stick and you were trying to do something, it was, but that's beside the point. The rule was fairly enforced. The other one was kind of interesting. I think if you watched TNT's coverage, you didn't get to see the zoom in on the puck actually, hitting into the net. Mm-hmm. I only caught it watching Sportsnet's Twitter feed. So if you were watching Sportsnet, you may have seen the zoom in. If you were watching TNT, you didn't. So those who are watching that and were wondering, why it was called that way, it was. Go to Twitter, check out Sportsnet. It's, check out their feed. It's on there. But I'm not really wild about it taking that long. But I guess if you have to in a playoff game in the end, they got it right. You need to do that. But 2 reviews in one game where it led to disallowed goals, that's rare. You rarely see 2 in like a month. Let alone in one game, especially a playoff game.
Yeah, and I know they don't want to decide it, and that's the thing. They want to make sure it's right. They don't want to say, well, it's a goal, and then that wins the series, that type of thing. So I get why, but you're taking so long, and the fans are already kind of getting restless, and watching on TV, and it takes that long to figure it out. It's probably not the best thing. So,
and it actually, I think, favored the Lightning a little bit because it gave them the chance to get a breather because they were definitely, being pressed so hard. Florida did a great job of pressing the play. They came out with nothing to lose. Defensemen were pinching in. They were actively trying to score shorthanded. So you got to give them credit. And I think that gave Tampa Bay a little bit of a, time to reset, especially for the guys they want on the ice. You can put your top guys back on there if you wanted to, because they had 8 minutes to rest. It's half an intermission almost. So.
Yeah, well, it probably favored them for sure. And, Florida definitely deserved a better fate in this one. You throw 49 shots on a goaltender and you can't put one by him. It's frustrating. And I'm sure they were frustrated throughout the series. Last game, they outshot the Lightning as well, I believe. So, I mean, looking towards the next series, Lightning are going to have to clean that up. You don't want to be allowing that many shots. And, even if Vasilevskiy can stop them all, it seems, you don't want to be having him doing that all the time.
No, I think either if they face the Rangers, who have tremendous snipers, that they'll get some past Vasilevskiy. Carolina will find a way to grind out the goals in that situation. So you definitely have to improve that throughout the entire series. The stuff that they did throughout the entire series, that has to get better in the next round, no matter who they end up facing.
Yeah, well, that's right. I mean, the thing is Vasilevskiy, I mean, he's been, one thing though, you look at his stats and it's insane what he does in these elimination games. I mean, they threw up that graphic and it's like his second round alone, he just doesn't lose. Like it's just, it's insane. And his goals against average, save percentage, it's like the second round is his, he just plays his best hockey there, and it's no wonder he's had so much success and has 2 cups now.
Yeah.
So
absolutely. There's not too much more to say about him. I mean, he's done it for, a good handful of years now. He continues to do it. And and as long as he continues to do that, Tampa Bay has, a shot at the three-peat.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You look at the goal scorers again, like we talk about, getting it from different guys, like Pat Maroon. I mean, he's the guy that scores the game winner. And I mean, even if those other goals counted, it would have been Killorn getting the tip in.
Yeah.
And then Kucherov. I mean, Kucherov's been scoring a lot, but it's those guys like, Maroon has been doing it again. Here's another veteran that's been around and won a cup in St. Louis, won a cup again, with Tampa, and then has another chance to do it again. And he comes through with it, even though it was a weird play. Like he just gets his stick on it, but
it was a hustle goal. He hustled to the net. He, took a swat at the puck and got enough of it to bounce off Bobrovsky and go into the net. And again, we talked about that's kind of the series it's been, and this game has been just really weird type of game.
Yeah.
With that, and then the goals that were scored. But that seems to be kind of Tampa's way, at least in this series.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. And it seems like they can play different styles and have a goaltender steal them a game at times too. So, I mean, there's just so many different ways they're able to win. And even if they don't deserve to win, they still do. So and that's the thing. Winning teams just find a way.
Right.
And, Florida, give them credit for coming to play in this game. I mean, with their backs against the wall, they did all they could. But you look at in the past, I mean, they wouldn't have been in this situation if their scorers scored. Mm-hmm. And, Bobrovsky has no fault in this series of why they were swept. So, and then looking towards what Florida now, I mean, President's Trophy winners had one of the record-breaking, I believe it was a record-breaking season for them too. And now looking ahead to their coach, Andrew Burnett. I mean, you mentioned before recording about Cooper outcoached him, right? Yeah. So what's going to happen with him going forward?
I think that's going to be a really big question. I think Florida, they'll sit down and take a look at, looking at this series is one thing. I think being out coached by Cooper, if that's, what is, really judged to be, and that's my opinion.
Yeah.
It's not a terribly bad thing. There's a reason why he's the longest tenured coach in the NHL. You go back and look the circumstances in which he had to take over and how he kind of continued. And then you kind of take a pulse of the players and the team to see. It'll be really interesting, to see going forward, what they want to do. They want to give them a couple more years to see if they want to continue. I mean, I think they can probably keep the core of their team together if they so desire. Do they want to keep all that together, or, are they going to do they want a fresh perspective? I think that'll be one of the biggest stories for Florida in their off season.
Yeah, well, the thing is Brunette is what he did this season is amazing. coming in a difficult situation as a head coach and rattling off, I believe he rattled like 50 wins or something like that.
Yeah.
So, I would, if I was a Zito, I would probably give him a season still and try and see how he does over a full season. And he's still a relatively young coach. So I think you give him that chance, but it definitely will be talked about, especially if they deem that as being that, Cooper out coached him or whatever. But most coaches he's out coached over the last 2 years. So
right. No,
right.
exactly. And again, if you're Florida management, you're thinking you didn't like what you saw from, your star players, your scorers. Do you look at that and say, did they falter? Were they not set up for success by what the coaching staff did? I think they'll, take some time, and again, you look over the tapes, you can sit back and analyze that, and then you make a decision. It might also come, on who else is out there. Do they think there's somebody else out there that can take them to, another level? Whether that's somebody who's looking for a job now or somebody who comes available, as the playoffs and the season wind down, we'll see. I'm not sure, we have the answers, but, I think that feeling out process is definitely going to go on.
Yeah, especially when it seems like more coaches keep coming on the market as days go on here. So they'll probably look at it again. This is evaluation starts now and seeing why this happened. Now, the President's Trophy winners seems like it's a curse. They don't seem to go far or get eliminated much earlier when they win that. So,
well, yeah. And Tampa Bay knows all that well, because it's the President Cup's winner, in 2019, and they lose in the first round to Columbus. It means, that you did really well in the regular season, but it doesn't necessarily translate to the playoffs. And I think that's one thing that Cooper realized is that, what we did in the regular season was great, but we have to bring a little extra dimension to the playoffs that did not happen in 2019, but did the past 2 years.
Yeah, I think, like they were saying during the broadcast too, is like they changed their style and they now know how to win. In different ways. And like I said, this game, I'm sure Cooper doesn't like this game, how they played. So, Vasilevskiy stole him a game. That's just, you have to have your goaltender do that in the playoffs sometimes. And Vasilevskiy seems to do that more often than not in elimination games. So, yeah. And I on the podcast this morning, I said, because of Vasilevskiy, I think they're probably going to win this. So, that's what happened. So we'll see who they play next. Before we get to that, who do you think? Vasilevskiy is an obvious answer, but who other than him was your MVP of this series for the Tampa Bay Lightning?
Well, I think other than him, I said, talking to the, Blackhawk banter ladies, that my MVP before this game was Corey Perry. And if it's not, after this game, I would have changed my mind because he sealed this. But if it's not him, I think it's Corey Perry.
Yeah.
He was tied for the lead in goals on the team. And he brings just, the on ice awareness, his presence was so vital, especially in the absence of Braden Point. Even though the power play did not look good tonight, it has, much better throughout the first 3 games than tonight. And he was a big part of that. And, the goal the other night, to me, he would be the MVP outside of Vasilevskiy.
Yeah, I agree with that. There's so many guys that kind of did, Kucherov is, again, another guy that was doing it. And, but if it's none of the big stars, Corey Perry is the definite MVP of this series. And, Vasilevskiy, of course, now takes the, completely, but it's going to be interesting to see who they play. Rangers Carolina series is very much up in the air. I'm sure they hope it's going to go 7 so that they can get as much rest and get maybe Braden Point back. Do you think Point could have a chance of coming back in the next series? Or
I mean, it's hard to tell because they reveal so little about, what the injuries are, and they just, now, they say the proverbial day to day. Well, what does that mean? And they probably don't want to let that know. I mean, they're not going to put that out there for anybody. I think the thing is they won't care who they want to play. They would love to see it go 7 games. They would love to see it to be, getting physical. It certainly got testy between the two of them. At the end of the game, you have a bunch of ex-Rangers on, the Hurricanes, and that was part of the issue. I would expect tomorrow night's game to be a little physical. And if all of that plays out, it goes into game 7, that's certainly going to help, Tampa out. For that situation to happen.
Yeah. I mean, between the two, I don't know what the best matchup is for them. I mean, Carolina has a lot of that speed and depth, and they can play different ways too. It's the goaltending, maybe the difference in that one. And if it's the Rangers, Shesterkin looks like he's starting to reemerge as that Vezina guy. So that could be a heck of a matchup in goaltending if that happens. So it's going to be interesting to see who they actually play, but that's a well down the road, it seems. So Lightning will just rest up and try to stay as sharp as they can before that happens. So thanks, Jim, for joining the post-game shows all these throughout this. And we'll see you in the next series. We'll keep doing these post games and against either the Hurricanes or the Rangers whenever that happens. So we'll look forward to that, and stay tuned for the next post-game show, which will be the Blues and the Avalanche later tonight. So thanks for joining us.
You bet. Thank you.